Hi, this is Scott Miller, CEO and founder of Circles USA. Thanks for being a volunteer in Circles. It's great having Circles in your community. You'll be able to find so much satisfaction out of being able to work with families directly who want to get out of poverty, who are making every effort they can to get out, and you're in a position to make sure that this can go easier for them and have them be successful. Each of the volunteer teams are critical. These are the drivers that make sure that Circles works. So as a team leader and a team member, you're accountable to your part of this picture. The workbook has job descriptions that will help everybody understand what your job is. The training program that I'm about to do is a flyover of all the teams and the major responsibilities of these teams. So I hope this gives you an orientation so you can see how all the parts fit. Again, thanks for being a part of Circles, and we look forward to working with you over the next many, many years to come. The resource teams are volunteer-driven teams that are basically doing the work of Circles and making sure that everything is functioning in harmony with circle leaders and allies in the weekly meetings and all the resources that people will need to get themselves out of poverty. So let's talk about these resource teams. We have 5 of them: services, recruitment, Big View and Cliff Effect, jobs and education, and the community team. Let's talk about the services team first. When people come to Circles, they are typically going to need assistance in figuring out problems related to housing, transportation, childcare, healthcare, financial assistance, appliance assistance, and mental health, potentially mental health problems. So it's important that your volunteer team gets set up and start looking at what programs offer these kinds of services and who are the name of it. We want key relationships. So you want to go find Steve and Jane and whoever at these places, sit down with them and understand how it works and have a warm relationship. In other words, I know this person, you can go see them and they'll help you. You may want to set up a giving and receiving system within Circles so that people have they're called giving tables sometimes. People bring in things, people take things, but it's just a way to make sure that people that have more than enough can find ways to give to people that don't have what they need. All right, services team. So you'll have worksheets. They'll look something like this. You just find out who's responsible for figuring out what's available in these areas, and then who's going to be the referral at that other end. So what housing program do we want to know about? Do we think people might need? Who are those people? There may be a 211 system that United Way's created. You might be able to look at that and make this a lot faster and easier. But if you don't have something like that, and even if you do, you still want to have some good relationships. So I would get 3 to 5 people to be on the services team and understand all of that. Now, the lead organization of Circles might already have this going on, might know about it. It's still useful to have volunteers understand about all of this, because they can then quickly help allies understand that, and we don't have some bottleneck where suddenly you got 30 circles going and suddenly 25 can't get somewhere to a main operator to figure out what's what out there. So the more people that know, the better it is. Your recruitment team has 2 assignments: bring in the allies and bring in the circle leaders. So who's best to have on this team? People that know people. It's great to go to a church and say, hey, we're going to need, we would like to have you support 5 circles. We need 10 volunteers to be allies. Can you do that? We need to have them come into this orientation program. Always have a date. But when you're recruiting the recruiters, find the people that are good at getting people excited. They're extroverts mostly. They like to get people involved. They like being part of lots of groups. So it's those kind of folks that are going to have an easier time. And the main strategy for the recruitment team with allies is to, once you, of course, have allies, they can sell this to other friends, and you can bring them to community presentations, and you can bring circle leaders, and that's always a great way to get more allies. But it's very important to tell people that you're looking for an exact number of people. I would like you to help us with 5 families. We need 10 volunteers. Or 2 families. We need 4 volunteers. Let's just say you want to bring in 50 allies, or you want to have 35 allies functioning. You're going to probably need to bring in 50 and interview them in small groups. There's an interview form that we have, and maybe 40 will show up at those, and you'll end up with 35. One of the best recruitment things I ever saw was a church big church, but the minister did 3 sermons on circles and the importance of doing things like circles from a biblical perspective, that church's particular approach to things. They also made a list of people they thought in the church would want to do this, approached them, and set up an orientation at the church. We had 40 people show up, 39 got involved with circles. A year later, 38 were still involved. 1 moved out of town. We only lost 1 due to a move. Amazing. But that was all handpicked and driven by the minister who had relationship with all these people. So your recruitment team wants to find the 10s out there that on a 10-point scale, they're passionate, they're connected, they see this as an important project for their center, church, organization, Kiwanis Group, Rotary, et cetera, et cetera. The Circle Leader recruitment process is going to be fairly straightforward. You're going to find organizations that are already serving people who are in poverty and telling them what the profile looks like for somebody that's going to do well in circles, and that they should send people to, this orientation, or send them to this phone number where you'll schedule an appointment. The community team is making sure that that weekly meeting is really good. The research shows that if people show up at weekly meetings, they're going to get good results. If they don't show up, they don't get such good results. So the weekly meeting is really important to be in a great space, really strong child care, youth development programs, meals figured out every week, way in advance, and you've got greeters and good facilitators. All of it is a warm, soft, accountable, almost work-like environment, but very soft in the sense that it's extremely nurturing while not coddling. So people have to find that balance, and the community team's responsibility is to make sure that the team is filled with people that can do these types of things. Your goal here is to make sure that the space is maintained, it's in place, the child care's got supervision, the meals are donated, and the welcome committee is in place. And here's some suggestions on how long all that might take. Going back to the recruitment part of this process, so the circle leaders, you want to get maybe 20 enrolled. Sometimes most people will go with 15 or even 12. Whatever the number is, you're going to have to interview at least 1.5 times that many people to get to your number. The Big View team. So you might consider relationships with colleges, researchers, advocates, bank employees, consumer credit counseling staff. Who knows? People that like numbers, people that like to make advocacy happen. There are all sorts of groups you could be bringing into the Big View team. Its primary responsibility is to identify and work to solve these systemic barriers that your families are bumping into. That little microcosm of circles will actually reveal just about every problem in the community. Across the country, we are looking to mitigate the cliff effect. So we have a cliff effect planning tool that's been calibrated for all the counties in 8 states right now. We have the ability to bring this tool into your state. There is a process. You contact our office. We can put you into that process and make sure that you've got this for your area as well. But it will help predict what will happen to people's benefits as they increase their income up to the 200% of the federal poverty guideline marker. The cliff effect, designed by David Premer out of Pennsylvania and also then brought online by Vince Gonzalez in New Mexico, covers Medicaid, cash assistance, housing assistance, child care, and food stamps. The Big View team is going to have to understand the kind of problems and headaches people will bump into as they do exactly what everyone wants them to do. Get a job, get a better job, work more hours. We create a disincentive system to remove benefits much too quickly that creates sometimes a complete crisis. So across the country, everyone's scratching their head to figure out when and how can planners, policymakers change this and smooth it out. And in the meantime, what can be done to understand when we're going to hit these cliffs and how to mitigate them? What kind of money or resource can we use to help people get through these problems? So the main thing is to understand what the cliff effect will look like, how to work with the tools that we have, get the tool into your state if you don't have it already, prepare your Big View meetings well in advance. Think of them as a way to get the entire community underneath the tent to talk about circles, or to talk about poverty and how circles, what it's learning about poverty and what to do to reduce it in your community. You should be committed to trying to help reduce the poverty rate by at least 10% over the next decade. And your Big View team is a recruiting group to bring in stronger and bigger and better partners over time who can help make that stuff happen. The Jobs and Education team is responsible for making sure that you understand all the pathways that are going to lead to decent jobs. That would include education, workforce, job training, um, certification programs, whatever looks like this is where the economy is heading and this is what you need to do to get yourself qualified for that economy. That's what this group's up to, figuring out who has what to offer in this arena. Finally, they're also looking at the financial literacy. So what support can we give to people to be able to get stronger in their ability to manage money, get loans, get where they're going financially. Again, each one of your teams has a chart like this that you can just fill in the blank. Who on the team is going to look for what types of things, by when, and then just fill out these resources so that when we finally bring families into the demonstration group, you already have a good sense of what's going to help them. All right, that's an overview of the resource teams. There's much more information in both the staff training manual as well as the planning manuals. Have a great time and let your coach know what you need. Thank you.